The classroom was always filled with laughter, but not the kind that brings joy. It was the cruel, mocking laughter of children who found entertainment in making someone else feel small. Arham sat in the back row, his head lowered, trying to disappear into the worn-out pages of his notebook. But no matter how hard he tried to stay invisible, they always found him. "Hey, dumb boy. Can't even solve a simple math question." One of the boys sneered, snatching Arham's notebook and holding it up for the entire class to see. The numbers were smudged, his handwriting shaky, a sign of his struggle. The others laughed, some whispering, others outright mocking him. Arham's face burned with shame. He wasn't stupid, at least that's what his mother told him every night before he went to sleep. "You have something special inside you," she would whisper, brushing his hair gently. But at school, it was different. Teachers overlooked him, classmates ignored him, except when they wanted to make fun of him. He was the boy who took longer to read, the one who hesitated before answering questions, the one who always seemed lost in his own world. "Why are you so slow, Arham?" Another voice chimed in, this time a girl from the front row. "Maybe school isn't for people like you." The teacher, hearing the commotion, glanced at Arham but said nothing. It wasn't the first time, and it wouldn't be the last. Some teachers believed he just wasn't trying hard enough, while others had simply given up on him. That evening, as Arham walked home, his school bag felt heavier than usual, not because of the books, but because of the words that weighed on his heart. He kicked a small rock along the dirt road, his eyes stinging with unshed tears. "Maybe they're right," he muttered to himself. "Maybe I really am dumb." When he reached home, his mother greeted him with a warm smile, but he couldn't meet her eyes. She noticed the slump in his shoulders, the sadness in his expression. "What happened today?" she asked softly. "Nothing," he mumbled, but she wasn't convinced. Sitting him down, she gently lifted his chin. "Arham, do you know why a seed takes time to grow into a tree?" He shrugged. "Because it needs time, care, and patience. Some seeds take longer, but that doesn't mean they won't grow strong." She placed a comforting hand over his. "You have something inside you, my son. One day, they will see it too." But Arham wasn't sure if that day would ever come. As the years passed, the bullying continued. Some days were worse than others. Some days he would come home with torn books, other days with bruises on his arms. He wanted to fight back, to prove them wrong, but how? Even his own reflection in the mirror seemed to question him. Then, one day, something changed. A new teacher arrived at the school. Unlike the others, he didn't dismiss Arham as slow or dumb. Instead, he watched him closely, noticing things others had overlooked. The way Arham's eyes lit up when he stared at machines, the way he doodled strange diagrams in the corners of his notebook. One afternoon, when the class was empty, the teacher approached him. "Arham, do you like building things?" Arham hesitated, then nodded. The teacher smiled. "Then let's build something together." That simple sentence changed everything, but no one knew it yet. Not the classmates who still laughed behind his back. Not the teachers who had already written him off. And definitely not the bullies who had spent years making his life miserable, because what was about to happen in the years to come would shock them all. Arham didn't know it then, but that moment, those few words from his new teacher, would change the course of his life. For the first time, someone saw more than just the struggling student, the boy who took longer to understand things. Someone saw potential. At first, he wasn't sure what to expect. The teacher, Mr. Rahman, didn't hand him a book or ask him to memorize facts like the others did. Instead, he brought in an old, broken radio and placed it on the table in front of Arham. "Do you think we can fix this?" he asked. Arham stared at the radio confused. I don't know," he admitted. Mr. Rahman smiled. "Let's find out." Something about that moment sparked a curiosity in Arham he didn't know he had. He watched as his teacher carefully opened the back of the radio, revealing the tiny circuits and wires inside. It looked complicated, but instead of feeling overwhelmed, he felt drawn to it. Over the next few weeks, Mr. Rahman spent extra time with him after class, showing him how machines worked, how circuits connected, how tiny parts came together to create something functional. Arham's hands, once hesitant and unsure, began moving with confidence. His mind, once clouded with self-doubt, started working in ways he never imagined. But school was still a battlefield. The bullies hadn't changed. Still playing with broken junk, dumb boy? One of them sneered one afternoon. Do you think fixing radios will make you smart? Arham didn't respond. He had learned that words were useless against them. Instead, he focused on his work, but the whispers and laughter never stopped. One day, things went too far. The same group of boys who had mocked him for years cornered him behind the school. You think you're special now, huh? One of them said, shoving him against the wall. Just because a teacher likes you. Arham clenched his fists but didn't fight back. He knew it wouldn't make a difference. After a few more taunts and a final shove, they left, laughing as they walked away. That night, Arham sat in his small room, staring at the broken parts of an old watch Mr. Rahman had given him to fix. His hands trembled, not from fear, but from frustration. He hated feeling weak. He hated feeling like he would never be more than the dumb kid everyone thought he was. Then he remembered his mother's words. Some seeds take longer to grow, but they grow strong. He took a deep breath and picked up his tools. Days turned into weeks, weeks into months. While his classmates memorized textbooks, Arham was busy learning how things worked. He stayed late after school, experimenting with wires, circuits, and small motors. Mr. Rahman encouraged him, pushing him to think beyond what was written in books. Don't just follow instructions, he said one day. Ask questions, find answers. Slowly, Arham started seeing things differently. He noticed patterns others missed. He found solutions to problems that had puzzled him before. It was as if a door had finally opened inside his mind. But no one else saw it yet. To them, he was still just Arham, the slow learner, the boy who struggled to read aloud in class. Until one day, everything changed. It was the school's annual science competition, a grand event where the best students presented their projects, students who had always been at the top, students who had never been laughed at like Arham had. He had never dared to participate before. But this time he did. His project was simple yet brilliant, an automatic water dispenser for plants, made from scrap materials. It wasn't flashy like the other projects, but it worked. It was something useful, something real. When it was his turn to present, his hands felt cold, his heartbeat loud in his ears. He could already hear the whispers. The bullies sat in the back, smirking, waiting for him to mess up. But as soon as he started explaining, something incredible happened. The audience fell silent. Even the judges leaned in, listening carefully. For the first time, Arham wasn't stuttering. He wasn't hesitating. He spoke with confidence, his passion shining through. And when he demonstrated how his device worked, how it could save water and help farmers, it wasn't just the judges who were impressed. Even the bullies looked stunned. By the time he finished, the entire hall erupted into applause. Arham couldn't believe it. For the first time in his life, he wasn't being laughed at. He was being recognized. And that was just the beginning. Arham stood on the stage, his heart still racing, his ears still ringing from the applause. He searched the crowd, half expecting someone to laugh, to call him dumb like they always did. But no one did. Instead, people were whispering in amazement, nodding in approval. Even the teachers who had once overlooked him now looked at him with something different in their eyes: respect. When the judges announced the winners, Arham couldn't believe it. First place, his name was called, and for a moment, he just stood there frozen. Then, slowly, he walked up to receive his award. The medal felt heavy in his hands, but it wasn't the weight of metal. It was the weight of everything he had been through. The years of being mocked, the days of doubting himself, the nights he spent staring at broken machines, wondering if he would ever be good enough. As he stepped down from the stage, he saw the bullies in the crowd. They weren't laughing. Instead, they looked stunned, almost unsure of what to say. For years they had called him dumb, weak, useless, and yet here he was, winning, proving them wrong in a way they had never expected. But Arham didn't care about them anymore. Something had changed inside him. He wasn't just the boy they bullied. He wasn't just the slow learner sitting in the back of the class. He was something more. That day wasn't just about winning a medal. It was about something much bigger. It was the day RM realized that intelligence isn't just about reading fast or solving math problems quickly. It's about thinking differently, about never giving up, about finding something you love and becoming great at it. And that was exactly what he did. Years passed, and Arham's passion for machines and technology only grew stronger. He studied tirelessly, built new projects, and kept pushing himself beyond what anyone had ever expected. The boy who had once been bullied for being slow became known for his ideas, his inventions, his brilliance. One day, he received an invitation to speak at a prestigious university, a place filled with some of the brightest minds in the country. As he stood on stage, looking at the crowd, he thought about how different this moment was from that day at school. There were no bullies here, no one waiting for him to fail, only people eager to hear what he had to say. He took a deep breath and began. "I was once told I wasn't smart enough," he said. "For years I believed it. But intelligence isn't about fitting into someone else's definition of smart. It's about finding your own path, your own passion, and never letting anyone tell you that you can't." The audience listened in silence, completely captivated. When he finished, the room erupted into applause, just like it had all those years ago at his school. Only this time, it wasn't just one moment of victory. It was proof that he had truly made it, and he had done it on his own terms.